in this video we have an equation and we want to solve for x. You have a radical right here and we want to get to that x underneath that radical. So we're going to want to square it, but before we do that we have to get this part by itself. So if I put a box around this, what would I have to do to get it by itself? Well, I would be subtract the 2 on the outside. So if I do that, I'm going to be left with a square root of 5x minus 4, and that's going to equal x minus 2. Okay. Now we could get rid of this radical, and to get rid of the square root, we raise it to the second power, which means we raise this side to the second power. Now we can do this because if you're going to write the square root of, well, I'll do it over here. The square root of 5x minus 4, written in exponential form, we've got an index of 2. We'd swing it around here. We know that this binomial under the radical is raised to the first power, so this 2 becomes the denominator of 1 right there. So we would write it as 5x minus 4 to the 1/2 power. And then to get rid of this 1/2 power, you'd square it, because 1/2 raised to another power, you do a multiplication. That would give us 2 over 2 as the power, which would just be 1. So now we could rewrite this left side as just 5x minus 4. And then that will equal x minus 2 squared. So it's this quantity squared, so we have to write it twice. We got x minus 2 times x minus 2. Now in our next step we're going to have to distribute all this out. So I'm going to rewrite 5x minus 4 and keep that as is for now, and then distribute this. So x times x is x squared, x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Now I've got this one, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and then negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Let's go through and combine our two like terms in the middle. It's going to be 5x minus 4 equals x squared, and then in the middle it's going to be negative 4x plus 4, because negative 2x plus another negative 2x is going to be a negative 4x. Now we have a quadratic term right here. We have some linear terms, so I'm thinking that we're going to have to factor. And to factor, we have to set one side equal to 0. So let's get rid of all this so it becomes 0. To get rid of that, we have to subtract out 5x, and we also have to add 4. That all will cancel out then. So let's subtract 5x from this side and add 4. Okay, so this stuff cancels out. We're done. So that's going to be 0, and then we're going to be left with an x squared, and then this is going to be minus 9x, and then adding those together it's going to be a positive 8. So now we need to factor. What two factors of positive 8 add up to be negative 9? And those answers will be a negative 8 and a negative 1. So if we set both of these equal to 0 and solved, whoops, that's not right. That's going to be x minus 1 equals 0. So down here x is going to have to be 8, and then for this one x is going to have to be positive 1. So those are our two answers for now. We have to plug them into our original equation just to make sure that they work though. So let's get rid of this stuff in my original equation, and plug in an 8. So 8 times 5, which is going to be 40, and then 40 minus 4 is going to be 36. We're taking the square root of 36 right here, so that's going to be 6, and then plus the 2 on the outside, that's going to be equal to x, and we're plugging in the 8, so we'll set that equal to 8. So then 6 plus 2 is 8, so then x equals 8, that checks out. Now we're going to do 1. So let's get rid of this stuff again. If we plug in 1 for our x right here, we're going to do 5 times 1, which is just 5. And then 5 minus 4 is 1. We're going to take the square root of 1, which is just 1. And then we've got plus 2 equals, our x is 1, so it's going to be equal to 1. Now 1 plus 2, is that equal to 1? No, so x equals 1. That ends up being extraneous. And then our actual final answer is x equals 8. That's the one that checks out.